What is going on, guys? It is Uncle Nick here, and as you can see, I am back here at Never State in Maryland after a nice long snowy ride from North Carolina. They got hammered with snow, so we actually had to stay an extra night than we had planned, but that is okay because we made it back safe and sound. So it was a weekend with a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but overall it was an amazing weekend. I met a lot of amazing people as well. Made some great new connections with a lot of great people, and I'm so thankful for them and thankful that they were there, and looking forward to competing with them or maybe even collaborating with them in the near future via training or YouTube and whatnot. So I'm super thankful for a lot of those guys that really I was able to really connect with. Pretty much every competitor I met seemed like a great person. There wasn't really anyone I encountered personally that had a bad attitude. They were all positive, all cheering their other competitors on, and it was like basically one giant sibling rivalry when it came down to it, because everyone was so positive with each other, and it was awesome to see. But to let the cat out of the bag, I missed podium by 1 point. 1 point. That being said, I made mistakes. The top three guys made less of them or none at all, and they delivered the best performance, which is why those three guys were on the podium and I was not. It is that plain and simple. As I made mistakes, they didn't. That's it. So congratulations to you guys, Aaron, Keith, and Devin. You guys did awesome. Devin, you are the 90 kg world champion. Big congratulations to you. You had a extremely consistent and outstanding performance. You delivered a whole package. You didn't really have many holes in your armor, and it showed, man. So congratulations. Keith, you delivered a solid performance as well, coming in second. Aaron, it was great meeting you. We had a tight battle for third, but you won by 1 little point. But congratulations to you top three guys. You guys did awesome. And it was my pleasure to compete alongside you guys in the process. Let's get on to the event side of things, and I will give you guys some breakdown where my head was at, what was happening, where the mistakes were made that led to a 4th place finish at the official Strongman Games.
Step forward a little.
Step forward, yep.
Good, brother.
Push your knees out. Yeah. Walk forward. Do it again.
Yeah, Miles.
Slide back, slide back.
Yep.
Into them handles. You got it, Miles.
Yeah.
Left.
So the first event was the deadlift medley. Now I will say this is probably the most worried I was for an event. Now I've pulled all of the weights in the medley individually. I've pulled 675, and I knew there were some strong pullers coming into this. Now deadlift specialists are fairly common in the strongman world. There are a lot of guys that are pretty good at this event. So it seemed to be a big equalizer and created a pretty significant points gap, because most of us ended up having to go and split points via a time split versus a completion in the time split. So where most of everybody separated was the bulk of us finished 3, and then a handful of guys finished all 4. Now, the guys that did finish all 4 just delivered a good performance in that aspect itself, whereas the rest of us had to come down to the best time to determine placing on the points via what time we finished our 3rd deadlift. So I ripped 495 off the floor, ripped 585 off the floor, got to 635, went to rip that off the floor, and I did not get set. I rushed it, and I did not get my hand placement right. I pulled it about mid-shin and realized my hand was slipping off, so I readjusted, strapped in, because I didn't want to do that again, because I was in full potato at that point, because I was like, why am I not pulling this? Strapped in, which cost me time, and I pulled on it twice, which is probably a big factor into why I only got the 675 to my knees and had a long pull. Now, I had no business pulling on the 675 a second time, because at that point my back was smoked, and pulling on a close to max lift twice isn't going to do anything but take more out of you in the long run. And that's pretty much what I felt happened at that point. And bottom line is, I don't want to let that ever happen again. I want to bring a strong enough deadlift and a good enough game plan to where if something doesn't go right, I'm able to adjust fire on the spot and not really sacrifice any crucial time, because basically with the time split, even if you won the time split by pulling all three, you could get third or fourth, because only 2 or 3 guys, I think, pulled all 4. So what it came down to is who had the fastest time after they got the down command on the 635-pound pull. Now with that slip up, that took me all the way down to 10th place. So I had the 10th fastest time. And that was I knew that mistake was really gonna make things hard for me to get on the podium down the road. And I was super worried about it, super frustrated with myself. And it was the only event of that day, so I had a lot of time to really get in my own head and piss myself off even further for making that mistake. So let's fast forward into day 2. Now I'm coming into day 2 in 10th place because I messed up on the deadlift, and day 2 we had the sandbag throw, the press medley, and the wheelbarrow medley. Now those were 3 events I felt really good about. I had done a lot of practice on the sandbag throw and the press medley, but I did not have, it was the first time any of us had gotten to touch the actual wheelbarrow implement for the first time. So everyone was pretty much on a level playing field there. When it came to the sandbag throw, I was really confident with how this event was gonna go, because I knew I had gotten comp weight pretty high, around 15 foot, and even in competition, I tend to be a little bit stronger with all the adrenaline and being in the moment. So I did not think I was gonna have any issue there. I roll through the first 3 bags. I sling 30, sling 35, sling 40. Took my time on the 40 because I did not want to miss it. I wanted to make sure. And then I got to the 45, grabbed that, go to sling that over, and I did not get my trajectory right. And then in a panic, I changed grips, tried again, and that went even worse. So I went back to my original grip, took my time, got set. I threw it more than high enough. I just could not get the bag to go arc back. I was getting it too straight up and not enough arc. On top of that, Jerry Pritchard was actually my judge. So there was a little pressure from that as well, having someone that competes, with some of the best guys in the world judging my event. But I was not able to capitalize on that moment. I think only 2 guys had gotten a full run, so that would have been tremendous for me in points, but instead I was subject to the split time. But I did well enough that it actually moved me up to about 8th place after that event. Moving on to the press medley, this is probably my best event of the weekend. Now, when it came down to this event, it was pretty much Andy and I were in the lanes right next to each other. We were neck and neck most of the medley. Now you can only see him for a split second here, but he is right next to me. I mean, we're going rep for rep. I actually pulled ahead of him a little bit on the dumbbell. We both smoked the log, smoked the axle. I actually grabbed the axle a little bit offset, but I powered through it, clean and pressed that, clean and pressed the log, got to the dumbbell, rushed that because 165 is no problem. That is any given day. Just basically threw it up on my shoulder, quick to press. And then I got to the keg, got set, took a little bit too long setting up because I wanted to make sure my hands were right. Got set, threw it up there, threw it up a little bit out front, but I was able to correct it before it got too far away from me and locked it out with pretty much a 1 motion through. And I love clean and pressing a power keg more so than I like clean and pressing a normal keg, because they are centered, so you don't have the bulk of the weight at the bottom, and especially the way I clean it, that works to my advantage quite a bit. I think there was like maybe a second, if that, time difference between Andy and I. Andy got first, I got second on that event, and we were first and second by almost 20 seconds. Only one other person completed it, and we did it almost 20 seconds faster than anybody else than that one person had completed it. Everyone else got three implements instead of all 4. And you could pick any order. I just went down the line. That's the fastest way. Point A to point B is a straight line, right? Moving on to the 3rd event of day 2 was the wheelbarrow medley. Now that was an event I was excited about because it was something that I could run and go crazy with. And anything that is moving and allows me to be explosive is something that I love to see in an event, because that is something I can excel in. With that being said, when my feet are moving and I'm just going nuts, I tend to go full potato. So how this started out is we started on the keg, ran 50 foot, loaded it. Now I went to load this keg in stride onto the wheelbarrow. In doing so, when I planted that foot to nudge that keg up on it, I hit that powder concrete and I lost my footing, had a little bobble. I recovered and was able to get around the wheelbarrow, but I had lost what lead I had gained running down there with the K. So I had to come from behind to make that up. And I hustled, and I think I finished second or third in my heat, somewhere in that. And even with the come from behind on that event, I still managed to pull off maybe a third place finish, I think, overall in the event, which if I hadn't had that fall, that would have been something, that would have been an event I could have won. So it is just another one of the mistakes that accumulated into me not making podium or even winning the show. And polished concrete has been my enemy in the past, because when I get going, I am hauling ass. And when I put the brakes on, I put the brakes on. I don't do anything gradually, because that's just not how I am. I'm moving hard and I'm moving fast with everything I have. Now you put some extra weight on it, you're gonna slide. So I bust my ass to make up the ground I had lost getting down there, and I came in maybe second in the heat, and like I said, maybe third, somewhere around there overall in the event, and that actually was good enough to bump me up to sixth. So I've been steady climbing, trying to hunt my way back up to the podium, even with the mistakes I was making. Now that was the last event in day 3, and I felt a little better about myself because I knew there was 2 good events coming up for me on the last day of competition. Day 3, we started off with the Yoke sandbag medley. Now, I was super excited for this one because I drilled it, I was fast at it, and I love getting a yoke in a competition because it's something that I can just really make up points in a show if I need to. So my turn comes up, I get under this yoke, I take off, take a few steps, and I bobble it, but without skipping a beat, I picked it up and kept moving at the same time. So like, that little mistake may have cost a half a second or a second at the most. And you can see the way I was just pulling away from the guy next to me in the lane. I had the wheels, and I'd have had an even faster time without that. So I sprint back, I get to the sandbag. Once again, I come in way too fast, pump the brakes and go sliding, but I do my best to do it in stride and just pop back up off the floor, grab the sandbag and get down there. Now, there was a lot of people not loading the sandbag, so I took my time on the load, make sure I got it the first time, and I actually finished second on this event by maybe a second to Devin, the guy that won the show. So that slip and that bobble cost me another event win. I mean, I was within a second of the fastest time with mistakes. So it's kind of reassuring, but at the same time, it stings a little bit more when you know that you messed something up, and the reason it didn't go right is because you can't stay on your feet. And not to mention, I slipped in literally the exact same spot. So clearly I didn't learn anything from the first time. Moving on to the last event of day 3, the stones. Now, at this point, I was in 5th place going into that. They ran it 2x2 just like they did the yoke. And I'm all tackied up, I'm ready to go. My head's in the right place, and I step up, and here is where a strategic issue came into play. Now, I should have had someone go ahead of me and wipe off the stones because they were super grimy, they were dirty, and I was like, I have enough tacky on me, it's not gonna matter. Not true. No one in the U90 class completed the 6th and final stone, the 375 pound. Mind you, I trained with a 385 pound. I knew it was well within my ability to do so. So I ripped through the first 5. Slam up 250, slam up 275, slam up 300, 325, 350, not a problem. The 350, I loaded a little bit slower because I was a little bit far away and I was trying to find the podium and I did not want to miss. And I was making sure the stones were on there because they didn't have any stoppers. It was up to you. If it rolled off, you had to go get it and reload it, and you couldn't move forward until that was done. So I was making sure that was not an issue because it had happened to other people in the competition, and I did not want to be that guy as well. So I get to the 375, I grab this big sucker, and I go to rip it off the floor. The mat starts to come up with it, and my hands just slide right off. I look at my forearms, they literally look like my gray sweatshirt, and that was the course. And that was literally the same for everybody. They just got covered in the dust and the concrete residue from that stone. I did have some spare tacky actually put on the backs of my hands. I used that, put it on there, but it wasn't quite enough. And I think if I'd have messed around beforehand, maybe the day before, the night before, and gone and looked at that stone and saw where the best places to grab it were, where there was the least amount of stone residue, that could have been something I could have definitely overcome and not left an event and open points, because if I'd have loaded that stone, that would have been the point I needed to be on podium. So looking back at it, hindsight being 2020, I just need to do a little more with my implement preparation, making sure everything is where I want it to be. Now, they weren't really letting you set stuff up, but they were letting you prep your stones. So with that being said, that is something I will definitely be doing in the near future, making sure everything is just the way I want it. Basically eliminating any external possible factors in the situation so that the only factor, but like I said, you either win or you learn, and I learned a whole lot. I took away so much from this competition, whether it was meeting great people or learning stuff about myself and just strategy and competing as a whole. I think it definitely will allow me to grow as a competitor and a person. The top 5 guys especially, all the way, I mean, within the top 7, there wasn't really anybody that was considerably stronger than anybody else. It just literally came down to who put out the most consistent performance. The guy that delivers the most consistent performance wins. It's that simple. You gotta deliver on game day. That is the most crucial thing, and they did. So that is really about all I got for you guys on the competition. It was a great show put on by Lynn Morehouse, the official Strongman Games. And he had Jerry Pritchard out there. Mark Felix was out there competing in Masters. Eddie Hall was out there, and he was so good with everybody. Eddie Hall actually recognized Miles from his overhead pressing video that went viral, so that was pretty awesome. But I do want to send out a thank you to everybody that made this all possible. My Never Say family, my friends, everyone that came out to watch. I couldn't have done it without you guys. You guys know who you are. You guys know exactly what you mean to me, and I love you guys for that. So thank you so much for making sure I had everything I needed and making sure it went as smooth as possible and just being there through the whole experience, because it definitely means a lot that I have all these people behind me, rooting for me, supporting me in every way that they can. So it is truly a good feeling to know that I have a lot of good people in my life. So thank you guys. It literally would not be possible without you, especially even to those of you that were here back home and reaching out and texting me and asking how I was doing. I do really appreciate it. The support, I mean, it's amazing, and I couldn't ask for a better support system. You guys are awesome. And to my YouTube community, thank you guys for being so positive in the weeks leading up to this. Thank you guys for watching my videos, and I appreciate you guys supporting me as well. You guys are always so positive in the comments section. I hope this competition recap is giving you everything that you guys were hoping for, and that is about all I got for you guys. So until the next time, you guys know what the deal is. Get out there, get after it, and embrace the suck.